Hey everybody, Perry here once again, and sorry for my Blu-ray update is a little bit late this time around, but I wanted to save up for whenever I picked up stuff at A-Kon and just bring them on. Anyways, I got a sweet stack of titles right here for you to check out, including one of my most anticipated Blu-ray releases of the year, Cleopatra. So without further ado, let the intro roll and let's get to it. Alright, so first up, folks, just like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, one of my most anticipated movies of the year, Blu-ray releases of the year, is Cleopatra on Blu-ray, starring Elizabeth Taylor, Rex Harrison, and Richard Burton. Now, I'm not going to lie, folks, when I heard about that Cleopatra was going to be released on Blu-ray, I was absolutely excited because I had never had the chance to sit through this movie all the way through. And I'm a big history buff. My history major at college, I'm really excited about this. Egyptian history is one of my favorites to look into, and Cleopatra and Julius Caesar, around that whole time period, is just one of my most interested time periods to look into. I love looking at Greece, Rome, Egypt, feudal Japan, all that good stuff. Just different regions of the world, different times. And ancient history, I always find it more fascinating because the more back in time you go, the further back you go, the more holes there are to fill, the more mystery there is. And Cleopatra is one of those movies, I feel like, that capitalize on the mystery and the wonder of such an age. I mean, this is often regarded as one of the most expensive movies ever made. I think I heard somewhere where it's like the budget was originally like $2 million, and this thing just went over its budget exponentially. It was a massive, massive budget, and it really shows in the production value of this movie, because one of my favorite things about this movie is absolutely insane lavish sets. It's just, I mean, just looking at Cleopatra's procession alone into Egypt, it's just absolutely insane. It's just, you just look at it and just, Lord, like, you can just hear the dollar signs racking up and imagine the studios just going crazy. It was like, oh my Lord, this is expensive. And so, like, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. If you guys don't know the story about this, the story basically follows Cleopatra, who is the final emperor of Egypt, and she comes across Julius Caesar, Gaius Julius Caesar, or Julius Caesar as most people know him, and he comes into Rome and tries to settle a dispute between her and her younger brother Ptolemy the 13th. And so by the time that he gets there, there's a civil war that's going on. Rome is slowly transitioning from a republic to an empire. There's political disputes going on. It's just good old-fashioned political backstabbing and scheming. It's just, it's just such it's such an interesting movie to watch. And yes, I know it's not exactly 100% historical accurate, but let's be honest, folks. I mean, I may be a history major, but I know I'm realistic enough to actually think that, okay, number one, your first job is to make a good movie. If you want to be historically accurate, watch a documentary. Speaking of which, let me go ahead and mention some of the special features that are in this 2-disc set. Now, one of the first things you get is a commentary by Chris Mankiewicz, Tom Mankiewicz, Martin Landau, Jack Brodsky. You get a Cleopatra through the Ages cultural history documentary. Cleopatra's missing footage, Cleopatra Papers, a pirate correspondence. On part 2, with disc 2, you get a continued film commentary. You get Cleopatra, the film that changed Hollywood, the fourth star of Cleopatra, Fox Movie Tone News, and archival footage of the New York and Hollywood premieres. But let me also go ahead and show you some of the inside of the packaging. So as you can see here, it's a pretty easy slipcover case, just simple, easy to enjoy, and pretty glossy digibook cover. Let's just a quick shot of the back. Here is Elizabeth Taylor herself and Richard Burton as Mark Antony. Again, I'm very happy to have this. It's just a beautiful, beautiful booklet. Anyways, here's a shot of disc 1 with Elizabeth Taylor. And I'm going to try to show you guys a quick glimpse of, here it is, Elizabeth Taylor, Queen of the Nile. Certainly portrays it very well. Just to give you a sense of how extreme these sets are and costumes are, just look at that set alone. I mean, just look at that lavish dress that Elizabeth Taylor herself is wearing. This is just marking one of the scenes where Cleopatra is coming into Rome, meeting with Julius Caesar, and you might be wondering who the little guy is next to Cleopatra or Elizabeth Taylor. That's actually Julius Caesar's own son Caesarion, who would have been emperor of Egypt, but unfortunately Octavian Caesar was, if you don't know your history by now, then Octavian Caesar or Augustus Caesar wasn't exactly going to let him have his power. So just a little bit more idea of the film. Okay, here's another good one. Get a load of this. Just look at that. I mean, that set. I mean, if you imagine, like, could you imagine someone trying to recreate this today? This would cost hundreds of millions of dollars. Just, I mean, probably adjusted for inflation now. I think the budget's like what, 300 million or something like that. I don't know. Like, this is a really expensive movie. It's just but it's a great, beautiful movie to look at. Every shot of this movie is beautiful, and that's one thing I have to mention as its highest praise is the picture quality itself. This movie may be maybe 50 years old or over 50 years old, but the absolute seamless production quality and the transfer over is absolutely beautiful. I do not get bored with a single second of looking at this movie. It's absolutely gorgeous and lavish, just like it should be. A historical epic in every sense of the word. It's just fantastic to look at. There's even some comments of like little bios and little production behind the scenes bits. For example, there's just one little interesting tidbit, like during production, it mentions here that 2,000 different costumes were made to supply the actors and extras. And not only that, but it mentions for Elizabeth Taylor herself had to go through 65 different wardrobe changes. 65 changes. That's just crazy. I mean, just all these beautiful costumes and sets. I mean, she looks absolutely beautiful as Cleopatra. There's even some little bios of the actors such as Richard Burton as Mark Antony, Rex Harrison as Julius Caesar. And Julius Caesar is probably one of my favorite or at least most curious characters I'm looking into Roman history. I just love looking into the guy. He's just very interesting. And Rex Harrison, gives a great performance. Rodney McDowall as Octavian Caesar. Now, the one thing I'm very curious about is that when it comes to historical accuracy, I'm very curious about how different films portray him. In McDowell's performance of Octavian, he seems to be very slimy, very conniving, and a very shrewd politician. He always tries to work everything in his works in his favor. He kind of reminds me of, what am I trying to think of? A Wormtongue for Return of the King, from Two Towers. I don't know. It's just the kind of person who's really trying to work his way into politics and really try to take control. You can really see that conniving little side. But yeah, it's just a great booklet and just a little bio of the director himself, Joseph Mankiewicz. It's just great release. I'm very excited. Here's a shot of Richard Burton as Mark Antony, in case I haven't already shown you. And Cleopatra once again, beautiful golden headdress. Just great Blu-ray release. I'm happy to have seen it for the very first time. It probably would stand in the same vein, at least one of my all-time favorite movies, Ben-Hur. If I had to put this one in my top 10 list, I'd say it's round number 2. But going back to Cleopatra again, I just love this movie. I think it's really great. I can understand if a lot of people can't stand the long running time for this movie, and that's perfectly understandable. But I feel like if you plow through this, you at least find it very interesting. So I highly recommend Cleopatra on Blu-ray. Alright folks, next up on my Blu-ray pickup list is actually a Blu-ray that one of my viewers, Cricket Lenny, who I've mentioned a couple of times here on my channel, he recommended me one movie that was by the director of The Shawshank Redemption, Frank Darabont, and I've actually never seen this movie. It's based off the Stephen King novel. It's Tom Hanks in The Green Mile. Now, when he told me originally to see The Green Mile, he was one of those movies that would kind of make me feel good, or at least very appreciative of how good films can be. And I gotta say, when I started watching this movie, and I finished it, I was absolutely surprised. I was blown away at how much I really enjoyed this movie, how many emotional moments I had during this movie. It was just really beautiful to watch. Tom Hanks' performance is absolutely wonderful. I always enjoy watching him. He's great in this movie as as the prison guards. And just David Morris, I think, as Brute, just wonderful. I love watching Brute. He was so great. And there's a lot of prisoners in here. It's like I never felt so sympathetic to a group of prisoners in my life, especially the main prisoner, Michael Clark Duncan, as John Coffrey. Yeah, just like the drink, only not spelled the same. And I just loved all the little cinematography they did with inside this one prison. I mean, a prison is not exactly the most glamorous setting for a film, at least from what I have imagined. But the way they work this movie, it makes it feel like the prison itself is like a character in its own right. And all the little prisoners have their own little personalities. It's just a great movie. I just love looking into this. And it's kind of interesting to see how all these characters work together with each other, and all this little mystery between Michael Clark Duncan's character, and that kind of leads into my own little synopsis of the plot. It basically follows Michael Clark Duncan, who or Tom Hanks, who is a prison guard of basically death row, or at least what they call the Green Mile, which the reason why is because it actually looks green and it has green jaded floors. And so So one day, a new prisoner comes in, played by Michael Clark Duncan, and he is basically sentenced to death row for the murder of 2 young girls. And during the course of this movie, like, you come to realize that John is actually a fairly nice guy. Like, you wonder, like, why is this man? How could such a nice guy, such a heart-loving, beautiful, just a warm, loving man, I mean, granted, a big giant of a man, but still, it's just. He's so lovable, he seems so innocent and friendly. You just wonder how in the world could he have committed such a horrible crime. And then throughout the course of the story, you come to realize what exactly happened, what led to this event, and why he's sentenced on death row. And it's actually kind of heartbreaking whenever you come to realize the turn of the events. And, just such a good movie. I absolutely enjoyed Green Mile. I just want to thanks, Lenny, for making me watch this. It was just a great watch. And just a quick shot for those who may not know, this is actually a digibook. Just a quick shot here at the inside of the disc. Tom Hanks, just similar to the cover art. And a little shot of the booklet inside. It's actually, and just like a shot. There's actually, I'm not going to mention who this mouse is, but trust me, you're going to love to learn to love this little mouse. I never thought I'd feel so emotional about it. It's actually basically, Stephen King book. Just watching from. Little comments on the film itself, just commenting on the set. It's just beautiful. Oh yeah, sorry. Tom Hanks' character, Paul Edgecombe. There we go. I couldn't remember the character's main name. Jeez. Sorry, my memory was kind of... Anyways, some of the actors in the film, just beautiful shots. Just a little couple bios like Michael Clark Duncan, Bonnie Hunt, Dave Morris. Like, just great. Just a full... Sorry, it's kind of hard to balance this on my arm. Director himself, Frank Darabont. Just a beautiful set. I won't spoil what all is in this, what's all in this set, and I won't spoil what's in the rest of the film. There's also one other character. I won't spoil who he is. That you will just, you'll grow to really, really hate. I won't spoil who it is. It's just, oh man, you really will hate him. But I highly recommend Green Mile. I mean, I'm sure you probably already know this, but the picture quality, audio quality looks great. It's just a beautiful, beautiful movie to look at. And the ending itself feels, I don't know if I would call it sad, but just more of a, how do I put this? I don't know. I can't really think of a way to perfectly sum up the ending. I mean, there is one scene that literally had me in tears that was just, it was so heartbreaking to watch. But at the end of this movie itself, you kind of realize that it was a lot more reflective. There we go. Reflective endings I've ever heard. And so I highly recommend Green Mile. If you haven't already watched it, I'm glad I saw it, and I'm proud to have it in my... Alright folks, next up is my last live-action addition to my movies until I get to my animes. But this is probably the one I'm most excited to talk about, and that is import I recently did, and that's Rurouni Kenshin, the live-action movie. Now, I heard that this movie was actually released a while back in Japan, I think last year. And I'm a huge Rurouni Kenshin fan. If you check one of my other videos, I mentioned that I was just a big fan of it. I showed my showcasing of the seasons. I love them all. It's just, seasons 1 and 2 are just absolutely fantastic for Kenshin, and season 3, while not great, it's still alright. It's not terrible. It's not like one of those, like, it's not like the Batman and Robin or the Superman 4 of those seasons. It's still alright. It's still okay. But it just wasn't really, when I heard it, wasn't really faithful to the source material, and I can understand people being upset with it, and I myself am a little upset. Anyways, Rurouni Kenshin, the live-action movie, I was very worried that I wasn't going to be satisfied, that it wasn't going to be like a really good adaptation of the source material. Because let's face it, when it comes to TV shows and well-loved series being adapted to a live-action film, they are very rocky at best. Or no, they're mostly just terrible. Case in point, Last Airbender and Dragon Ball Evolution. Oh, just thinking about those two makes me so mad. Anyways, with Rurouni Kenshin, though, I am very happy to say that there is no problem with this movie in adaptation at all. Sorry about that, my nose itched. And with Rurouni Kenshin, I was just... one of my friends, like one of my good friends, mentioned to me that she had seen this movie. I got her introduced to Rurouni Kenshin, and she was the one who said that I needed to see this movie as a Kenshin fan. And I watched it, and I was just in blissful awe of just how well they adapted Rurouni Kenshin to the big screen. I was very happy with it. It more or less follows the story of Season 1, and I'll give a brief plot synopsis real quick. It follows the story of Kenshin Himura, who is known as the legendary manslayer called Batosai. and he is basically a wandering samurai who is now coming off of who's coming into the new age. He doesn't basically want to kill anymore. He fought for the new age so that way people could live in peace, and he just doesn't want to kill. He carries around with him, to ensure this, a reverse blade sword, which is a sword that where the blade technically faces him and the blunt edge is facing his opponent. So it's a sword that is literally designed not to kill. He can't kill with this sword, all to ensure his own vow of never murdering another person ever again. And so with that, and he comes across Karu, who runs a Kamiya Kashin dojo, and she comes and they realizes that he's a wandering samurai, and they both meet up, and several adventures ensue, and all the characters, if you're a Kenshin fan, that you will recognize every single one of these characters, like Sanosuke, Yahiko, Miss Megumi, Saito, all these great characters that you know from the show and love, and it pretty much encapsulates the best of all of Season 1 in pretty much 2 hours. I think, how much does it run? Yeah, 2 hours and 15 minutes. And I absolutely love this film. The choreography in this movie is absolutely amazing. What surprised me the most out of all of this is the fact that in this movie there is so minimal wire work, you honestly can't tell if that was just completely natural stunt or if there was actual wire work. Like, it's so minimal, you can't really tell. And I really respect the movie for that. I mean, I'm not one of those people that's like so against CGI. I'm just not one of those people. I just don't see a point in it, given the fact of the industry we live in now. But still, I always respect a movie when it always tries to go that extra mile of using little wire work, and the choreography was just, oh my lord, it was amazing. Just watching every little slash and swing of Kenshin's sword, watching all the stunts and the angles and the perfectly recaptured story. Yes, there are some plot details that are a little bit different from the actual manga and the chronology from the TV series. And even as I was watching this, I was pointing out the differences in the story and where it was happening in sequence. But even so, even with the changes in the storyline, I understood why they did it, and it actually worked in the movie's favor. If they tried to recreate the entire movie, as the entire series as it was, into a 2-hour time frame, it would not have worked as well as this did. It had to switch it around for the better, and I'm so happy that so many good things about this movie, especially the casting of this movie. The casting is absolutely wonderful. Every single one of these characters is captured perfectly. Every one of the cast members has done great. I mean, Kenshin is done beautifully. Like, you can tell from the moment you see that that is Kenshin Himura. You can tell, like, whenever he's Batosai, he just goes, like, kind of like this zombie-ish state where he's not even really thinking. He's just like this. He's sort of like on autopilot, like a mindless killer, but he's very methodical and very precise. And so, whenever he turns into a bumbling idiot, like, you totally buy it. He's one of those few characters that you can buy from the moment you see him, that he can be a bumbling idiot 1 minute, and then just in the matter of a second, can go to the most badass samurai ever. And in my opinion, Rurouni Kenshin is the best samurai anime I've ever seen to date. I'm just so happy to finally watch this as a Kenshin fan, and I can't wait to see the sequel. I've heard that there's a sequel in production. It's just, I really want to see what they do with Season 2, if they really capture it. Anyways, I'll showcase the packaging right here. This is actually the Hong Kong version. You can pick this up at yesasia.com. I'll put a link right below to if you're interested in picking it up. Anyways, a quick shot of the back, shot of Kenshin again during battle, and a couple of shots of the film. Unfortunately, I can't read the top text, but I'm sure this is it right here. Just a little plot synopsis of the film. It comes with a Japanese HD 24 bits 5.1 audio track, Cantonese 5.1 audio track. Comes in 1080p 16:9 aspect ratio, 2 hours and 15 minutes. And it also has English and Chinese subtitles, so it's a pretty import-friendly release. And the translation is actually done fairly well. Anyways, just a quick shot. Just a quick little fire. I'm not exactly sure what that does. And a shot of the Blu-ray, just like the cover art. And if you notice real quick, I'll take the disc out. And there's actually, if you can look very closely, you can actually see a shot of Kenshin inside of the film. It's just a beautiful shot of him fighting near the end of the film. It's just great. I highly recommend Kenshin, folks. I mean, even if you're not a fan of Rurouni Kenshin or a fan of the animes or just anime in general, I highly recommend this movie. Pick this up. It's well worth your time. The choreography, the characters, all portrayed beautifully. I'm so happy to watch this, and I'm happy. Just thinking about this movie makes me excited. Anyways, just pick up Rurouni Kenshin on Blu-ray. I promise you won't be disappointed. Alright folks, next up on my Blu-ray pickups list, we're moving into the animes, is now Evangelion 2.22, You Cannot Advance. Now, if you remember, I watched the first movie, Evangelion 1.11, You Are Not Alone. I actually really enjoyed it. I've heard it's one of the most famous animes ever made. I never watched this series before, and so when I watched 1.11, I fairly enjoyed it. And so I was very curious to see 2.22, the sequel. And from what I can tell, I'm actually enjoying this more and more. I can understand that a lot of people, sorry, no stitched again, that a lot of people are not really big fans of Evangelion, and I understand that's okay. It's just a matter of personal preference, and some of the characters can be a little bit annoying at times. But there are some points, I feel like the plot progressed enough in this movie that I really, really enjoyed it. Probably more than the first one. And so, what I always found kind of funny is that with all the pilots they have in these AVA units, like these mech units, is that let's get the most mentally unstable people to pilot these giant death machines and fight these angels that are these creatures, these angels that are just so unbelievably powerful. That just, I don't know. I just find that a little bit funny. The fact they get these people who are so psychologically torn up and just, anyways, I'm sorry. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Ah, damn itchy nose. Anyways, the story picks up right after Evangelion 1.11, and it continues to follow the story of Shinji Ikari, and it shows, he introduces a couple of new pilots, Asuka, Langley, and Mari, who are now piloting the new AVA units, and the dynamics between all these characters as they come into the lives of Shinji, Rei, Gendo, and all these other people. You come to learn that more character development comes into play, and a little bit more story comes through, and more, you come to realize that each one of these characters has their own motivation for why they are piloting these AVA units, why they're involved with the organization NERV, and Shinji himself may not understand why he is doing what he is doing. He just wants to be loved by his father, he just wants to be appreciated by him, but unfortunately Gendo is not exactly the most likable guy. In fact, I think in my review I call him a dick. So, I do apologize for the foul language, but I couldn't figure of a better word to really emphasize just how unlikable in this movie he is. And even in this film right here, he becomes even more unlikable and more despicable. You just hate the guy more and more. And I won't spoil much more of the plot, but I will mention some of the special features that are in this release. You get a rebuild of Evangelion 2.22 feature film. You get the U.S. cast commentary, the Japanese original trailer, channel spot commercial, DVD, Blu-ray spots, Japanese TV spots, omitted scenes, remixed scenes, and the trailer. It also comes with a 20-page guide booklet. But anyways, here's a shot of the film. Pretty simple. Shot of the batch with the beautiful Asuka Langley. And just take off the slipcover right there. And here is the Blu-ray itself, with the Blu-ray case itself, with a shot of Mari. Pretty same as the back of the case itself. And here is the disc. Pretty simple disc art for Evangelion 2.22. There's the booklet. Let's take a look at this inside real quick. Gives you a sense of just a little bit tidbits about the Evangelion universe to kind of fill you in case you might be lost. Some of the characters, some of the pilots and NERV members. Another shot of Asuka right there. Again, I'm sorry that this is a little bit rusty, folks. It's just kind of hard to hold all this up. Shot of the Angels, Evangelion units. Some of the comments on how the film was made, some of the visuals and CG shots. Just a great, great film. I'm very happy to see this. And I'm really excited all the more to see Evangelion 3.33. Oh, almost forgot. There's even if you can look carefully, you need to take the Blu-ray disc out, the booklet out. If you look at this right here, it's actually a shot that replicates one of the theatrical posters for the release of Evangelion in Japan. So that's a pretty cool addition they have in there. Anyways, folks, I'm really excited to see. I'm really glad I saw Evangelion 2.22, and so I can't wait to see 3.33 when it's finally released here in the U.S. I'm not exactly sure when that's coming out, but either way, I'll be excited either. Alright folks, next up on my Blu-ray pickups list is Rin, Daughters of Mnemosyne. Now this is one concept for a show that I just kind of picked up on a whim. I was just kind of curious about it. I watched it on Netflix. I didn't quite have a chance to get finished through it, so I decided to just pick up the Blu-ray and just plow through the entire show in one day. And I gotta say folks, I wasn't really that disappointed with it. I will admit, it might be a little bit hard for someone to get into, just to get an idea, because let me make this perfectly clear up front. This is a very gory and bloody show. I mean, this show spans a couple of decades, and the woman right here, Rin, is very very thoroughly tortured and brutalized throughout the course of the film. And so, let me just go ahead and sum up the plot a little bit. Is that it follows the young lady Rin, spending the course of several decades, and she's what's known as an immortal woman. She can't die. She eats this thing called a time fruit, which allows her to be immortal, for pretty much live forever. And unfortunately, if men eat this same time fruit, unfortunately they become what's known as angels. They become very, how do I put this? Whenever the two come together, like a mortal woman and an angel, and a male angel, they become very, what's the word I'm looking for? Voluptuous. I'll put it that way. Very voluptuous. And so with Rin, like, she's trying to do all her best to avoid these angels and try to basically investigate them, haunting people and hunting them down, and just being a detective and trying to live her life as a detective, meeting different people along the way. And so I won't go too much further in the plot, but there's something that's haunting her existence, and you come to realize that her role in this world is a lot more important than what originally suspected. But again, I won't go much further than that. I would recommend, if you're curious enough to check this out, I would say so. But again, this is just, I can understand if someone not very getting into the show, because there is quite a bit amount of nudity, there is quite a bit amount of gore, and for those of you who just have a very squeamish stomach for blood and all that stuff, I'm not going to personally judge that. But if you aren't into that sort of stuff, I would probably recommend this one passing you by. But either way, if you're very curious about just different types of shows in general, I would definitely recommend this one. It's definitely something I haven't quite seen before. So it's definitely an interesting concept, and it kind of makes you think about the idea of, would you really want to be immortal? And just realizing that, like, eventually all the people that you know would eventually die off, and you would have to kind of take on a new identity every couple of decades or so. Sorry, my mind was going in a different direction. So just the idea is kind of interesting, and just trying to contemplate the idea of wanting to be immortal. Personally, I wouldn't mind being immortal as long as I could stay the age that I was. Mostly because it's not so much that I have a fear of death. It's more or less because I want to be able to help people for as long as I can, enjoy life for as long as I can, and maybe offer as much as possible during the course of my life. And I feel like having those abilities would be very nice. I understand that all the people I know would eventually die, and I would miss them. But the thing is, people come and go throughout all your life, and kind of learning to accept that reality. It may be a little bit hard at first, but I think it's kind of an interesting reality to accept. Realize that, yes, they may be gone from your life, but there was always the memory of them, and that's, to me, is the most important. Is the memory, you have good memories with them. Anyways, some of the special features that come with this release is some of the promotional videos, the Japanese cast interview, textless opening song by Alista, textless closing song by Cause Disarray, a commentary, and a couple of trailers. It comes with a 1080p high-definition 60:9 aspect ratio remastering. It comes with the original Japanese audio track and English audio track, but it also comes with English subtitles. So in case if you prefer the Japanese audio track with the English subtitles, it's right there for you. Anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at the slipcover. Pretty much identical to the slipcover. Shot of Rin again. Quick shot of the back of the casing. Let's open it up and put a shot of it here. And there's a shot of both Blu-rays, a shot of Rin and one of Apros' lackeys. Take out the Blu-rays real quick. You can actually see some reversible cover art. Now, if you're familiar with the actual DVD release of this, you can actually see that the cover art, the reversible cover art, is actually identical to the one on the DVD collection of the series. So yeah, pretty cool addition for those who might be into the reversible cover art. I'd definitely check this one out. I can understand if it's not for everybody, but again, I watched it. I blazed through it one afternoon. If you don't like it, that's understandable. It's one of those I would call a very niche show, but if you have a chance, I'd check out Rin, Daughters of Nemazine. Alright folks, getting down to the wire here. Next up on my pickups list is actually Time of Eve, the director's cut on Blu-ray. Now, this is probably one of the more interesting concepts of the show I've ever seen. It's more or less following the idea of, in the near future, that robots and androids have become very commonplace and common use. And unfortunately, androids are not exactly treated that well. In fact, in the society, it's kind of despicable in a way, where it's like androids are treated like very just objects, and just treated like things, like just worthless, common, throwaway things. And anyone who tries to treat androids like equality is automatically labeled as an android holic. Even something as simple as referring to a robot by a name. I mean, that in itself is so small, but you are automatically stigmatized as a android holic, as they call it. And so it's very kind of interesting an idea, that just the idea of treating something that looks like a human and may have the possibility to act like a human so bad. It's just kind of an interesting commentary, at least to me, how we treat technology for granted and just try to abuse it in any way, shape, or form, without any regard of maybe does this thing have do these robots have feelings whatsoever, or have the capacity to feel? And it falls into this place called a cafe called the Time of Eve, where it's one of those things. It's one of those places that kind of ignores all the rules of society. And the simple rule is this: when you go into the cafe, that you treat robots and humans like equals. And this freaks the main characters out, like Rikoku and Masaki. When you go into this cafe for the very first time, they are freaked out at the idea that the robots and humans are treated equal. They don't know what to do with themselves. They are basically, their whole worldview kind of slowly starts coming into conflict with each other, and they both react in different ways. It's a very interesting idea of how basically one person can ignore society's rules, and watching someone from the mass public at large come in contact with this, it's kind of interesting. And you meet lots of different people. You meet the different patrons of Time of Eve. You get to learn a little bit more about them, their daily lives. So it's more about the interpersonal relationships between the characters of the show and how they come to grow over the course of what it seems like several weeks. Anyways, let me go ahead and showcase the packaging here. Here you see one of the main androids of the show, Sammy. Here's a shot of all the different episodes. They actually just announced on Kickstarter that all the episodes together will now be stitched into a theatrical film that will be released here in the U.S. I'll put a link down below for the Kickstarter page in case if you want to contribute to that. And so they're actually just past their recent update of getting an actual English dub track, so I'm very excited about that. Anyways, let's go ahead and take a look inside of the case itself. One of the coolest things I find about this Blu-ray release is not only do you get just a beautiful simple slipcover, again with Sammy right there, shot of the back, and you also get a little description of each episode and a little bit about the world around you. Take a look inside. Shot of the Blu-ray disc. It kind of looks like the Android halo right above their head. That's the basic distinguishing mark between a human and androids. That little red glowing halo above their heads. Take out the Blu-ray disc. And a quick shot of Nagi, the cafe owner herself. And what you can find out about this, with this Blu-ray release, you actually get multiple slipcovers of all the different characters and patrons of the cafe, like Akiko, Sammy again, Chie, just a little adorable, kind of think she's a cat, Masaki, one of the main characters, Koji and Rina, and Nameless Robot. So yeah, all these different robots, all these different people coming into the cafe, kind of intermingling with each other, just seeing the world around them and just how they interact with each other. Hold on a second, gotta pick up the Blu-ray release and film out. Sorry, stuff falling all over the place. Not exactly the most graceful thing in the world. Oh well. Anyways, it's just a very interesting show. I really am curious to see if there's more to this universe. Come on, it's in there. Comes up. There we go. Anyways, just an interesting show. I really kind of wish, if there's one thing I have to say that I wish they would have done a little bit more with this show, is that they expand on the idea that this is sort of like a social movement that's sort of like a V for Vendetta in a way, where it's like one person's actions can affect society at large and try to help benefit it for all the more. It's just, it feels very isolated in just this one cafe, but I hope that maybe if there is a sequel or expansion upon Time of Eve, they do a little bit more with this. It comes with it comes with a Japanese audio track but English subtitles, so there's no English track for this one, but still, it's very enjoyable to watch. I highly recommend Time of Eve if you're curious for this type of show. Alright folks, so my last main Blu-ray release of pickup for this month is actually one I've already unboxed and showcased, is 009 Re-Cyborg. Now, in case if you haven't already seen my Blu-ray unboxing and detailed look through of all the packaging inside of it, I'll put an annotation right above here for the video in case you want to take a look at it. But anyways, Cyborg 009 is one of the shows that I remember looking into a long time ago when I was really little. I think I saw the 2002 and 2001 version of the show. I could be a little bit misleading on that one. so I apologize. But anyways, I was very excited to check this one out. I heard that Production IG was actually involved with the making of this film. It comes in 2D and 3D. It's actually directed by Kenji Kamiyama, who you may know from Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, one of my favorite series ever made, and probably one of my overall favorite franchises ever, as well as music being done by Kenji Kawai, also from Ghost in the Shell, and just all those factors together, coming together for this one movie, and for a franchise that I haven't seen in well over a decade. I couldn't help but enjoy so much of the film, and just enjoy for what it was. And yes, I did have a couple of problems with this movie. There is some issues with the plot, and some of the characters I found a little bit underwhelming, I'll say. But overall, it was still a very solid, watchable movie. But anyways, let me go ahead and showcase real quick in some of the stuff here in this Blu-ray release. But if you go to this other video that I mentioned, you'll actually see it in a lot more detail. But I'll do a quick showcasing real quick. So here you can see a shot of all the cyborgs on the back. Oh no, sorry, all shot of the cyborgs on the front. So as you can see here is a little bit of a shot of all the cyborgs on the front, all of them on the back in silhouette form, very nice. Just big, high, glossy red color, very bold. Shot of the digipack itself. Pretty simple cover art. Shot of all the Blu-rays. And you can actually see some of the background art with all the characters there. It actually comes with a couple of booklets as well, but I won't showcase all of those, because if I did, this would be a really big mess. I'd be dropping stuff all over the place. Either way, though, I'm very happy the fact that I had there we go. Either way, I'm very happy to have Cyborg 009. I can't wait to look at. But in case if you're curious to pick up 009 Re-Cyborg, I'll put a link down below if you're curious about it. And so there you go, folks. There's my last one for this month. But that's not actually everything I have, because this month was actually A-Kon, and that's the reason why this video is up a little bit later, is that I have 4 other things that I have to go. But I'll do a quick rapid fire of all stuff that I picked up. Now, there really wasn't much anime that I read this month, but one of the things I got in the mail just today is Captured Sins on Blu-ray. Now, this is actually the Save Edition version. I'm not really a big fan of the previous edition version where it had that giant slipcover casing that looked like the side of a DVD. I don't know. It's just something about that appearance overall just kind of bugs me. It just seems like, why not just make the case smaller and just make it the size of a normal Blu-ray? I don't know, Blu-ray slipcover. Anyways, this is actually the Save Edition. It doesn't really come with any special features, but it does come with all 24 episodes in a very compact package. And if you may notice, like all Save Banner stuff, this is actually the reversible cover art right on the front, because I'm not really a fan either of that humongous green banner. It seems a little like, it sticks out like a sore thumb. To me, this seems a lot more slick and consistent overall. And just looking at the back here, a beautiful shot of Cashman himself, a listing of all the episodes, shot of the front again, beautiful artwork as Cashman. In fact, I kind of wish this was a bit of a poster myself. I know some people like the DVD artwork better, but I personally like the Blu-ray art better. It's just a little bit more simple, a little bit more minimalistic. Anyways, let's take a look inside the shot. Just a little card for Funimation. And here we can see all the different Blu-rays. Part 1, Disc 1 with episodes 1 through 9. Part 1, Disc 2 with episodes 10 through 12. Part 2, Disc 1 with episodes 13 to 21. And Part 2, Disc 2 with episodes 22 to 24. And as you can see here, this is the main cover art for Captured Sins Save Edition. And I will say this is actually one of the more somber animes I've ever watched. I understand a lot of people can call it depressing, but I personally don't think that mood kind of fits for the show. It's just a very somber show. The art style looks amazing. It actually comes with, I think this comes with the English audio track and Japanese audio voiceover track. I haven't had a chance to watch this all the way through again, so I might be a little bit scarce on the details. But still, I'm very happy to have Captured Sins here. Can't wait to see this again and watch it all the way through. And finally, I know I'm kind of stretching the video length out of this one, so I'm going to go rapid fire on these last 3. And it's actually all games, and these are all the games I picked up at A-Kon. And I kind of think I scored big with this one, and that is Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess, Metroid Prime, and Kingdom Hearts 2. Now, this might come as a shocker for some people, but I've actually never played any one of these 3. Yeah, Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess, or Zelda in general, I've just never gotten into. For some reason, it just kind of flew under my radar. Yes, I know that's kind of impossible given how many fans are for the series, but it's just never intrigued me enough to take a look into. But I understand it has a huge fan base, so I thought, well, I might as well give it a shot, give it a chance, and see what it's like. And I picked up the GameCube version because, well, obvious reasons I don't really need to mention. But I'm just really excited to take a look into this one because I heard this is one of the better Zelda games, or at least one is, among the most favorite of Zelda games. This is probably the best version of the Twilight Princess on the GameCube. And as for Kingdom Hearts 2, I remember having a little bit of affinity for Kingdom Hearts when I was little. I remember this is the very first game of the series I saw. I remember going to a friend's house and he put me up against Sephiroth, one of the boss battles in the game, for the very beginning. And I thought that was kind of a jerk move because I wasn't very familiar with the controls. And I just found it kind of hilarious, the fact that he put me up against such a hard opponent right off the bat. I don't know, maybe he thought I could take him, or just for lulz. But still, I'm very excited to take a look at Kingdom Hearts 2. I have Birth by Sleep and Dream Drop Distance. I'm very excited to pick up the 1.5 HD collection coming out this fall. So I thought now would be a good time to take a look at Kingdom Hearts 2 once I get a hold of the HD version. So once I get that game, I'll play through this one and take a look for the series myself and really start diving into it. As for Metroid Prime, I understand this is one of the most beloved GameCube games ever. Again, I have not had a chance to play this just like the other two, and I really hope that this will live up to all the hype I've been hearing about it. But one thing I'm a little bit worried about is the controls. I don't know if Nintendo's controls or the way they fitted this one is going to work for someone like me. But hey, I'm gonna remain cautiously optimistic about this one. But still, with a franchise as beloved as Metroid Prime, I'm very excited to see it. Alright folks, so that's going to do it for this month's Plunder video. I hope you enjoyed it and hope you enjoyed some of the pickups. And tell me, what did you guys get this month? And if you were at A-Kon, what did you pick up as well? Now, one of the things that I understand that a lot of people might be wondering or might be curious about is where my reviews of God of War Ascension and Bioshock Infinite are. Unfortunately, with those games being several weeks old and I haven't had a chance to get around to them again, my opinions on them have kind of worn off a little bit, and plus, everyone has already talked about them to death. There's really not much I can say about them that hasn't already been said. And so, but if you're curious about still to see my opinions on those games, just please comment below and ask me. I'd be more than happy to do them. I just can't get around to them at this point. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to review all the animes that I just recently mentioned. Evangelion 2.22, Monarch Scramble 2, I showcased I think last month. Rurouni Kenshin the live action movie. What else? Crap, I need to look at Rin, Daughters of Nemesis, Time of Eve, etc. And so I'll do a lot of those anime reviews. I'll have a lot to go, but I will do my next game review will be Remember Me once I actually head back home, and I will see you guys then. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, I'm Perry the One-Armed Legend. You name it, I can play it.